Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Barefoot Bonsai Ranch. Today we're going to be harvesting an American elm, or maybe two, out of this little grouping that has grown up under this privet hedgerow on the edge of our property. And what's interesting about these is the American elm was all but decimated here in this area of the country and in many areas of the country from Dutch Elm Disease. That's going back between 30 and 50 years ago. They were all but wiped out, and they're starting to make a comeback. And what I found most interesting about this group of elms here is that we have a couple dozen varieties of trees here on that property. You're talking anywhere from maples to birch to giant black walnuts. We even have some sumac and some very tall hemlocks, but we don't have healthy elm. The elms that we have are pretty small and scraggly, so this grouping here, this is like a very special bunch of trees. So I'm going to try to harvest as many as I can, not just for bonsai, but for planting around the property. So you can see some of these are still pretty narrow. This one will probably end up being a planting, but when we pull all of this foliage back, we see this beautiful pre-bonsai specimen here. It's already getting some nice canopy on it. A couple of pieces that we'll prune back and make into cuttings, and we'll do that today as well. But what I was most impressed with this particular one, there's another one next to it that has this amazing trunk that we just might make that into a bonsai. I don't know, but look at this. How cool is that? Goes all the way back into the ground, curves in. This is going to be a pain to get out. We're going to have to go right up against the privet here. Oh no, that's another elm. Wow. Okay, maybe we'll take those two out. It's surprises here on Barefoot Bonsai Ranch. So we're going to get a shovel in the ground. What you want to do is get a good distance around the tree to make sure we get all the roots. Elms have a taproot, which means it's like a carrot sticking down. So this one I have no idea where the taproot's going to be because of that interesting curve there. It's probably been hit with the lawnmower 100 times. Maybe more. So we'll get a shovel in the ground here and see if we can get it dug up. So it turns out that this is all connected. So there's three trees here. I'm actually going to take this branch off so we can see a little better. And we don't really need that for the planting, but there's actually three here that are all connected. So I don't know what we're going to get out of this. We'll see. Wow, that is a massive chunk here. We did get a lot of feeder roots, so I think we will be able to get a good planting out of this, but look at this thing. Unbelievable. I'm going to get this in some water, in a bucket of water, and we'll take it back to the planting table. I think this is going to grow really nice, actually. So here's this gorgeous American elm specimen. Look at the little knot in there and everything. This is, I thought that I was pulling up a little scrap that I was going to throw into a pot, but this actually is already pre-bonsai. It's got these crazy growths on it. I'm just getting hit by the lawnmower so many times, but look at the roots are in really good shape. I'm going to trim up that big taproot and knock off that chunk there, but other than that, the feeder roots should do pretty well. I'm going to get it in a pot. And here we are with our American elm. We're going to keep it in the water for right now. What I'm going to do is take off that big taproot, which actually snapped a little bit when we were pulling this out, but we don't need it. We don't need it at all. We're going to take off this little guy right now. Don't need him. What we want is those little feeder roots that are throughout here. There's not a ton of them. There's a lot of them, but not like really well established. So I'm curious to see how this goes. But we're going to take off that big chunk before we go and pot it. Loppers are a bonsaiist's best friend. So there it is then, with all of the tap roots and all that taken off. We're going to pot it up and we are going to prune it a little bit here. I want to take this part off here. We'll take it back to, there's a node coming here, so we'll cut right above that. Don't be afraid to cut stuff back, because we're going to take this and put it in some rooting hormone in a little bit. Same thing with these long ones here. We'll take that and cut it back to a node. This will just help to give the plant a little less to focus on while it's trying to make a comeback from being stuck in the ground to now coming out. You can already see this nice canopy formed above here. We're going to take off a few more like that. We'll leave this one here just because it's the only part of that branch that has leaves on it. Same thing with here and here. But we have a 3 trunk going on here that actually could be a nice, yeah, we could plant that as a forest. I think we'll do that. Why not? An elm forest, something that hasn't existed in this area of the world in a very long time. So I'll put the water and the tree down here. What we're working with today, this is an aquatic plant basket. So it's got all the holes in it. What you do is you plant the tree or whatever it is that you're putting in the pond in there along with some dirt and then submerge it. And it gives a lot of aeration to the pot. It works really well for bonsai here. This is a little tip that I got from, I believe it was Heron Bonsai. What we're going to do first here, give it a little extra drainage, is I have this very coarse landscaping stone that I pre-sifted so that it would fit into the bottom of the basket. We'll just put that in for a little extra drainage. And then I also have this cactus mix. And it's like some pumice and some other random things, but it's like a very gritty, coarse mix that we'll put in there at the planting level. First thing I'm going to do is, I have this, it's Miracle Grow potting mix, but it's been out for a long time, so all of the nutrients in that have kind of gone away, but it still makes a really good mix. You don't want to be putting a lot of Miracle Grow type things, feeders, into this right now. But this is still a nice light, fluffy kind of, I mean it's wet right now, so it's not light and fluffy, you know what I mean? But it is, it's a nice soft compost for a young tree to grow up in, to start his life. So we're going to fill up a little bit of this pot, and then we'll put the rest on top of the roots. This is going to be a nice wet mixture for it to start. Now elms are good kind of wherever. They're a woodland tree. They're not really like a landscaping type tree like we see in our yards usually. They're more of a woodland tree. So they do appreciate a little bit of dampness in the soil, but of course not sopping wet. So we'll set this aside. We're going to put some of the cactus mix above here, and that's just going to give it a little bit of an opportunity for the feeder roots to kind of grow into something a little softer. So what we're going to do here is put it down like that. So it's kind of across the pot here. Make sure all of our little feeder roots are into touching the soil. We don't want any air pockets underneath anything. We'll make sure everything's close to touching the soil and tuck it in wherever it needs to be tucked in. These roots will get a lot of oxygen in this pot, which is really good. That was something that I didn't know. You know, like I said, I've been out of bonsai for about 10 years or so and just got back into it recently. One of the things I learned last time I was in it was that roots actually need oxygen. I didn't know that. I'm assuming that's why a lot of the roots grow up above the soil usually, and they're in search of the oxygen. So oxygenated soil is best for planting trees. So we're gonna get this mix down in here now, this nice filthy old compost to cover up all of the roots and give this tree a really good chance to be awesome. I'm leaving a lot of more of the trunk exposed than what it had in the ground, and that's just because I want to get that back to being a woody kind of feel. I don't want it to try to root back there, because there'll be one more thing that we need to trim off, and any trauma is kind of not great for the tree. So that is it for our little American Elm bonsai. I'm gonna give it a good shot of water here, soak it through to all those layers right down to the stone, and you'll see that this kind of a pot, it drains very well, and you're getting drainage out of all areas here. So hopefully that cacti mix will give it a good opportunity for those feeder roots to really grow into the sides. I'm excited to watch this elm grow and become nice and strong like the elms of old, but this American elm has a really good opportunity now to do something great here at the Barefoot Bonsai Ranch. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.